The Holloway House stood at the edge of town, shrouded in an eerie silence, its dark silhouette an ever-present reminder of the past. Even in the brightest daylight, the house seemed to suck the warmth from the air, casting long, unnatural shadows that seemed to stretch out and whisper. It had been abandoned for decades, its windows shattered, ivy creeping up the stone walls like fingers clutching at a forgotten memory. The locals said it was cursed. They said it was haunted. But there was one person who didn't believe in superstition: Sarah. Sarah was a young journalist, full of fire and ambition. She had a talent for unraveling the truth behind legends, a gift for seeing beyond the fear and into the heart of the unknown. When she heard the stories about the Holloway House, she saw it as an opportunity, a way to prove herself. She couldn't resist the lure of a story that could break her career wide open. So, on a crisp October evening, ignoring the whispers of caution from those around her, she gathered her courage and stepped inside, armed only with a flashlight, a camera, and a notebook. The door groaned as she pushed it open, the sound echoing through the darkness, sending a chill crawling up her spine. The air inside was thick and suffocating, stale with the scent of rot, like the house itself had been holding its breath for years. Her flashlight cut through the gloom, illuminating dust that hung in the air like tiny, fragile ghosts. The grand staircase loomed in front of hers, its steps cracked and splintered beneath her cautious steps. Her heart raced, but she shook it off. Just an old house, Sarah muttered to herself, trying to sound braver than she felt. Nothing more? But there was something strange in the air. The walls seemed to hum, as if they held secrets too heavy to keep locked away. The light from her flashlight flickered, casting fleeting shadows that made her second-guess every turn. In the dining room, she stopped in front of an old mirror. Its glass cracked, the frame warped. For a moment, it showed only Sarah. But then, something else. Flickering figures, shifting shadows behind her. When she spun around, the room was empty. Her breath caught in her throat. Her pulse quickened, but she pressed on. She needed this story. She needed to prove herself. She climbed the staircase, each step groaning beneath her weight. At the top, she found a door slightly ajar. Something seemed to call to her from the room beyond. She pushed it open slowly. Inside was the master bedroom. The air here was colder, almost unnatural. A four-poster bed stood in the center of the room, its once grand fabric now faded and frayed. The fireplace, long unused, was nothing more than a pile of ashes. Above the mantel, a portrait caught her eye. A family. A stern-faced man, a pale woman, and a little girl holding a doll. The girl's painted eyes, those eyes, seemed to follow Sarah's every movement. She shook her head, dismissing the thought, but the unease in her chest grew. With trembling hands, she raised her camera to take a picture. As the flash went off, a giggle, soft, eerie, sounded behind her. Startled, Sarah spun around, but the room was empty. Her heart hammered in her chest. "Who's there?" she called out, her voice barely above a whisper. The giggle came again, this time closer. So close, it was like someone was right behind her, breathing down her neck. The temperature in the room dropped suddenly, the air turning frigid. Her breath formed small clouds, the cold seeping into her bones. Before she could react, the door slammed shut behind her with a force that shook the walls. Sarah rushed to open it, but it was stuck, as if something in the house was holding it shut. The whispers from the walls grew louder, clearer, until they were unmistakable. "Get out." The fireplace erupted to life, flames dancing wildly in the hearth, casting shadows that twisted and writhed. From the mirror above the mantel, the reflection of the little girl stared back at her, but behind Sarah, the room was empty. The girl's lips moved, slowly, soundlessly. "Leave!" Panic surged through Sarah as she clawed at the door, her fingers slipping on the handle. Finally, with a final desperate pull, the door flew open. She ran, down the hall, through the twisting rooms, her heart racing. But no matter how fast she moved, the house seemed to stretch and bend around her. Hallways became longer, rooms more distorted. Everywhere she turned, she saw them, figures, silent, haunting, standing in the doorways. The family from the portrait, their faces twisted in agony, their eyes bleeding. "You shouldn't have come." The girl's voice echoed, hollow and distant. It was a warning, but it was too late. Desperate, Sarah ran for the front door, flinging it open with all her strength, stumbling out onto the porch. She collapsed, breathless, heart pounding, feeling the weight of the house's gaze on her back. But when she turned to look, the Holloway house was silent, still, like nothing had happened. But something had. Months later, the camera Sarah had left behind was discovered, its memory card intact. The last photo it captured was of Sarah, pale, eyes wide with terror. Behind her, the family from the portrait stood, their ghostly hands reaching out toward her, frozen in an eternal grasp. Sarah was never seen again. And the Holloway house? It remains a monument to fear, its whispers waiting for the next soul brave or foolish enough to listen. If you enjoyed this story and want more spine-chilling tales, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Thrill Up Shorts. Stay tuned for more thrilling, mysterious content.